Hi, I'm Johnny. Today I want to talk to you about the plot to kill Jesus. Matthew chapter 26, verses 1 to 5. When Jesus had finished saying all these things, he said to his disciples, "You know that after 2 days the Passover is coming, and the Son of Man will be handed over to be crucified." Then the chief priests and the elders of the people gathered in the palace of the high priest, who was called Caiaphas, and they conspired to arrest Jesus by stealth and kill him. But they said, "Not during the festival, or there may be a riot among the people." Historically, if we look at what the Passover was, it was named for the time in which the Lord passed over his people in Egypt and spared them their firstborn male child. And then if we look historically at the chief priests and the elders and who they were at the time, the chief priests and were in high positions among the Israelites. And the Caiaphas, as it says in here, the people gathered in the palace of the high priest, who is called Caiaphas. Caiaphas lived in a palace. That would be kin to us, or a preacher or priest, or living in a mansion, right? I don't know how some of you would feel about that, but think about that. That's what that was. But that was just the times. These guys, these high priests and elders and scribes, they were the power base back then, and Jesus threatened their power base, and especially Caiaphas, because he was the chief priest. He was the high priest, and Jesus was gathering crowds all over the place, and Caiaphas became jealous, and so he conspired with all the elders and stuff and the chief priest to have Jesus killed. And as we know, he was successful. But if we go back over to the literary world and talk about Jesus and what he was telling his disciples, his 12 disciples, he was telling them that the Son of Man will be handed over and crucified. He's telling them that I'm choosing this death, and I'm going to choose to die for the sins of others. And the disciples reacted like you and I would react. We're not divine. We're men and women, right? Jesus was both man and divine. So they reacted like I think you and I would probably react. My question, how would you guys react if you were in Jesus' time, you were one of the disciples, and he told you that? I know I would probably say, why? Why would you do that? You don't have to. You're divine. You can just say the word and it'd end right here. But he didn't. Obviously, he didn't. And but think about it. He knew not only when he was going to die, but he knew how he was going to die. I mean, how many of you would like to know not only how you were going to die, but when you were going to die? I don't. I certainly don't want to know any of that. But he knew his fate, and he still accepted it. And as far as the chief priests and stuff, I got one word for them, and they were cowards. They were cowards. They didn't want. They were afraid to lose their power base. They weren't in it for any religious reasons. They weren't in it for the better of the people. They were in it for themselves, and they proved that at the end, before Jesus died. They had the Son of God there, walking the earth with them, and they rejected him. They put him to death. They made a choice, and God died not only for us but for them too. And so it makes me think sometimes. We're all sinners and we all fall, and we know the truth as religious people, Christians, I should say. We know the truth, and we fall all the time. And how would we react in those days?